and closer tip-off here recently was we don't have the money to carry us up to August the 2nd when supposedly we're going to have an extension of the funding of debt. So what government has done, instead of putting money into the retirement program like they're supposed to, they're not going to do that. They're going to use it to run the government. So what they're doing essentially is, I would say, illegally robbing the pension plans of government employees. Now, the next step from there is the $6 trillion, which are in retirement plans, as 401ks and IRAs.
By the way, let me just briefly interrupt you, because the very same international combine that is robbing Greece, now Spain, Portugal, trying to rob Iceland, Ireland, they're on record last week saying that the governments are saying, now we're going to take your private pension funds and selling it like that's welfare, your own pension fund. And we've got mainline Republicans pushing, taking and cutting the pensions of public workers and union people when money's already been paid into that. It's just been stolen out the back door. So they're selling this austerity, and they're also going to go after the private pension fund. So folks need to get through their heads. We need to write off the quadrillion plus in derivatives and not go out and rob the unions and the government pension funds. Because here's the other problem. They're going to play all of those public workers off against everybody else because they're going to be fighting for their financial future, when at the end of the day, we should be looking at the bankers first.
Well, you're right, and the tactics will be formulated in a way that people will think it's good for them. We had a report come out and in February called the Annual Report on Middle Class, and in there it talked about guaranteed retirement accounts. Of course, that's by the government, and the government would run the money, and that means that they would use the money that presently was in IRAs and 401ks to fund the government. And that would be one of the ways that they would fund the shortfall in the purchasing of Treasury and agency paper. Agency is Fannie, Freddie, Ginnie, and FHA bonds. And so they're going to try to relieve some of the pressure on the Fed, like under QE3. They'll have to come up with a minimum of $1.7 trillion. And if they're going to replace what stimulus is not going to make available from the legislature, they're going to have to come up with $2.3 to $2.5 trillion. So they're trying to relieve them of that problem in part.
And remember, they're already robbing everybody's pension funds, public, private, and savings with the inflation. What is the real unemployment at from your research, and what is the real inflation at, and where is inflation going? We now see the head of Walmart a month ago, Ben Bernanke this week. They're now admitting, hey, inflation is going up, but it's no big deal.
Well, it's around 10%, and last May, I made a prediction that we would have QE2 and stimulus on the same order of QE1, and we would have QE3. And I also said that inflation by the end of this year, now this is going to be a year and a half by the time we get there, would be 14% or higher. Right now it's around 10%. The government's talking 2.6%. And this is only this year.
But everybody knows that's pure bull, Bob. Milk, eggs, meat, fuel, power bills, phone bills, everything's skyrocketing.
And that's true, and it's going to continue as long as they continue to do what they're doing. And next year, we'll probably see 25 to 30% inflation, and they'll say it's 5 or 10%, whatever it is. And, of course, that won't be true. And then, if we have this QE3, which I think we will, we'll be looking at maybe 50%.
By the way, Bob, you've been right about 97% of the time that I've been reading you for 14, 15 years and interviewing you for close to that. That's very frightening because you predicted everything that's happened so far to this point. You're saying 25, 30% next year.
There's a good chance of that if they continue to do what they're doing. And then the following year, we could get up to 50%, which is called hyperinflation. It's the bottom edge, the beginning of hyperinflation. Some hyperinflations go 2,000 or 3,000 times. But, for America, 50% is god-awful.
Well, they can't give Wall Street a haircut. They can't give Wall Street a haircut. They're not going to do that. They're not going to ever be able to cut enough government and entitlements to ever fix this. So it looks like it's a foregone conclusion.
Absolutely. And it's part of their plan to bring everything down so that everybody will say, please save me, feed me, put me in one of your camps so I'll be safe, and I'll accept world government.
But
and you spoke about Wall Street not accepting. That's part of what the Dominic Strauss-Kahn affair is about. He said, look, let's help these nations. Let's not loot them.
Let me stop you.
Exact words he used.
Let me stop you because I want to reset here, and I want you to take your time on this because that was my next point. Do you concur with Dr. Paul Craig Roberts that this is a setup? I mean, it's admitted that his head spin doctor and one of their campaign heads for Sarkozy did release the arrest before it even happened. That's admitted. They admit that, and it's admitted that they're acting like he's already guilty. I mean, I don't like this guy. I don't like globalist, but he had said that we're getting diminishing returns. We've ground the third world so bad that we might want to start forgiving some of this fiat debt. I mean, what's your intel on what happened with Khan?
Well, of course, Wall Street's anathema to that because they've been looting since 48. Actually, the IMF was formed in 44, but it really didn't function until 48. Paul Craig Roberts is correct. And it's as simple as that. I have a great insight into French politics. And the reason why is I followed it very deeply for years. I speak French, and I went to the Université de Genève. And one of my good friends, I haven't talked to him for a long time, is Jean-Marie Le Pen. He used to be the head of the National Front. And his daughter Marina is now the head of the National Front. And I've known her since she was a teenager because I used to go to their home and have dinner and things like that. And I noticed today that Madame Legrand is being talked about to be the head of the IMF. Now, the reason they would do that is she's the natural one to run on the Socialist Party ticket, and she would be the next in line after Strauss-Kahn. But they want her out of the way because they want Sarkozy to win. And so right now, Sarkozy is going to get like 35% of the vote prior to all this happening. And Marina's got 21, which is very high for them because when Le Pen ran for the presidency, he only got 19%. He was disemboweled, if you may, from a political standpoint. Anyway, she's brilliant. She was trained as an attorney, a criminal attorney at that, and she's the sweetest, nicest, one of the nicest kids I ever met. But anyway, I think she's got a shot at him. And it's going to be very interesting because if the people in France say, well, we don't want this guy, and we really wanted Strauss-Kahn, maybe we should have this lady as our president.
And by the way, the vast majority of the French do believe this was a setup with Dominique Strauss-Kahn.
Without question, and my comment all week has been the same as yours. I don't care for him, and I never have, and I won't go into it. But there's no question. A man's a billionaire, long, long line of very influential, wealthy, famous people, and he has a $3,000 suite, which he paid for, as far as I know. And men like that do not pursue the things that he's been accused of. It's as simple as that. And he was set up, and there were intelligence agencies involved, et cetera.
Well, that guy could order up any women he wanted, and that's what they do. But sometimes these globalists do go wild like this. My issue is he may have even done it. They've removed the protection from him now.
Either or. And it really doesn't make any difference at this point because he's out of the IMF. He won't run for the presidency. And their goal was to get rid of him in that powerful position. And been gotten rid of.
Well, it's admitted in the French papers. I
feel sorry for him because he's in a hardball league, and he knew that.
Well, it's admitted that Sarkozy put him as the head of the IMF to get him out of politics.
Probably. Well, I'll tell you, with what's going on in Europe right now, anything can happen, and Marina could win.
All right, well, looking at what's happening with Europe, you predicted 3 years ago that it would start in Ireland, Portugal, and spread, and that the euro would die. Where are we right now on that front?
Well, Greece is not cooperating. Samaras, who's the head of the other party, the one that's not in power, which is Papadreou's group, his father was president before him during the 80s, terrible crook, number one, and an ardent communist. It's not going to work. The other party is not going to go along with their let's steal everything in the country program. And they're going to have to give them a partial default. And that'll last about 2 years, and the problem will be back again. And then they've got to deal with Ireland and Portugal, who are in the same positions. Spain is in dreadful condition. Hundreds of thousands of homes empty. And, of course, you probably have heard that about 50,000 people from Europe bought homes in Spain and then were told they didn't own them. And there's been a big fight over this. You don't see it in American media.
No, there's huge protests going on right now. Things are really heating up into a major powder keg. We'll be right back. We're going to go 5 minutes into the next hour to take a few of your phone calls. Appreciate everybody holding. There's a bunch of news I didn't even get to, and I'll have to cover it Sunday. Government orders YouTube to censor protest videos, and legal actions are being taken. It says this content is unavailable in your country to government removal by request. TSA, more abuses there. New biometrics technology allows government to know what you're thinking. Paul Joseph Watson, that's the claim. It's just quackery where they can then claim you're a terrorist because the computer says so. You know, like lie detectors were proven to be a fraud decades ago, but still people went to the gas chamber for it. Also, University Campus Watch Citizen Spy Program partners with Threat Fusion Center to report suspicious activity. They're integrating those into the local spy centers. Big Sis and DHS push ID program for travelers. You're still going to get groped, but now they'll openly decide whether you get groped or not by giving you a special card. That's part of these internal passports. Bob Chapman, it is just getting crazier and crazier. What do you make of the U.S. Supreme Court and the Indiana Supreme Court, particularly the Indiana, openly saying in the decision that the Fourth Amendment was evil and that a great evil has been defeated, and now the cops will come in your house for any reason or no reason at all? I mean, these people are just consciously being evil.
Well, that's right. And there are policemen, law enforcement people, much to our chagrin, who are criminals. And that's been proven over and over again. And so people who have their house invaded by police because they have to pick their house might find things missing from their homes. For some time, we've had policing organizations in different states preying upon people by stopping their vehicles and then searching them, and if they have any money, say $5,000 or $10,000 or more, they confiscate it. It's been going on for a long time, but now that the states are so hard up for money, they're making a racket out of it, and they admit it. In fact, I have a video in tomorrow's issue explaining that in detail. Very, very interesting.
Well, that's gone on for a long time, Bob, but now they're even taking a couple $100 and from old ladies and stuff, and then admitting they're doing it. I mean, no judge, no jury, no arrest. I mean, it's just total highway robbery.
And the police chief was asked in Tennessee, what happens? Do the policemen lose their job if they don't find lots of money? And he said they could. So, I mean, this is a criminal enterprise. It's unbelievable. Well, that's going to be in tomorrow's issue.
Yeah, let's be clear. Let's be clear. And we posted the video a few days ago on Infowars. I've seen it. And I should have played that effect. I mean, that's what I'm saying, folks. There's so much Used to corrupt cops did this quietly. Now they go on TV and are proud of it. Go ahead, Bob.